This conference will now be recorded.
We'll get started here in just a couple more minutes.
Hey, Commissioner Jones, you've got a spot right there. Yes.
Alex, is any of the other council members online? No. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Okay, again, everybody, welcome to this evening's work session. It is now 5:30. We've got a lot to cover, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I just want to say that today is Wednesday, February 22nd, or 2023, and I'd like to call tonight's work session to order. Clerk, may I have a roll call for the city council members, please?
Councilmember Fox.
Present.
Councilmember Kasberg.
Here.
Councilmember Boyle.
He is absent and excused.
Councilmember Strobehn.
He is absent and excused.
Councilmember Cerveny.
Present.
Mayor Thornton.
Present. Okay, we do have 3 council members here, so we do have a quorum. We can go ahead and get started. Tonight's work session, the presentation will be by Mr. Ethan Spoo with WSP, and he will be presenting to the council the comprehensive plan update. So I just want to remind everybody that this work session is for the city council and the planning commission, and there will be no opportunity for public comment during the work session. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to you, Ethan, and we can get started.
Great, thank you, Mayor. And I just want to start by thanking all of you for giving us some of your evening time. And so I also want to thank the Planning Commission because they've already put in several months worth of work on this project. And so as the mayor said, this presentation that we have for you tonight and the topic of the workshop is the city's 2025 Comprehensive Plan Periodic Update. So we're going to walk you through a presentation. And, you know, since this is a workshop setting, I encourage you to ask questions as they come up. You don't necessarily need to hold them till the end. You can if you want. But it's really meant to be a discussion back and forth between us. The goal then is to have you feel a little bit more familiar when you leave the room tonight with what this project is about and what it means for the city than when you walked in tonight. I also want to point out somebody who's been helping me out quite a bit with this project, and that is Alec Egarola. He's attending virtually tonight, and he's another planner with WSP, and so he's been doing a lot of the legwork on this project, helping me out, and he frequently attends the Planning Commission meetings, and the Planning Commission is very familiar with him. So let's see here. I'll go ahead and go to slide 2. So again, the purpose of tonight's meeting, in addition to what I said about just giving you greater familiarity with this project, is to introduce this project to you, talk to you about what a comprehensive plan is if you're not familiar with that concept. Planning Commission is getting familiar with it, and I know that some of them have read or browsed through the comprehensive plan. And then, as I said earlier, another goal is to have a discussion with you tonight, really about anything that you see up in front of you on the slides, or any questions that you have about this project. But in particular, we're going to be talking about the work plan and the schedule for the project, the public involvement activities, some of the key issues that this 2025 comprehensive plan update will address. And then the roles and responsibilities of the council and the planning commission and staff. So what you see up here in front of you is a map of the state of Washington. I'm sure you probably recognize that, and it's by county, and it's color coded. And what this shows is the comprehensive plan periodic update schedule for the state. And so you can see Clark County there in the far southwestern corner of the state in green. Every jurisdiction, every county in the state of Washington is required to update, go through a periodic update of its comprehensive plan and code. Some jurisdictions don't have comprehensive plans. Those tend to be in central and eastern Washington, but they still have development regulations that they need to update. So the updates first start in the Puget Sound, so they're obligated to complete their updates in 2024. Then it moves to the green counties, including Clark County, and we're obligated to, and the cities within the county are obligated to complete their update by 2025. Then it moves to the gray counties, which is essentially central Washington, and then the blue, which is basically far eastern and far western Washington. So a comprehensive plan is a guide for future land use and development in the city, and we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. It has state required elements. We'll talk about those with you as well. And the plan has to meet the Growth Management Act requirements. The Growth Management Act was originally adopted back in the 1990s in response to what the state saw as rapid and uncontrolled growth at the time. And so the state really was making an effort to direct development inside city boundaries and preserve agricultural lands, mineral resource lands, and things like that that typically occur in rural areas. One sort of brief point here is that you're going to hear me use the term periodic review and periodic update interchangeably with the comprehensive plan update. We're really talking about the same thing there, whether we say comprehensive plan update or periodic review or periodic update. The periodic piece of it is that it happens consistently every 10 years. And so that's what is meant by the term periodic. But there are also annual comprehensive plan updates that the city can undertake. And those are usually geared toward updating the city's comprehensive plan map. So a property owner may come in and say, I want my property changed from residential to commercial. That requires a comprehensive plan amendment. And that can happen once every year instead of once every 10 years. At this point, I'm actually going to turn the presentation over to Bronson. Bronson, are you still there?
Yeah, I am, Ethan. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Bronson has some information for us on the 2016 comprehensive plan update.
And in 2016, and it was Clark county's comprehensive plan, which included urban growth areas for Ridgefield and La Center, was challenged by Friends of Clark County and FutureWise. And there was a number of challenges to the county's comprehensive plans, but the ones that concern us or are relevant to tonight's discussion were the challenges relating to the urban growth area designations for Ridgefield and La Center that the county made. And in doing that, the county took agricultural land and changed the designation of that land to residential and then included it within the urban growth area for those cities. And so that was challenged, and the Western Washington Growth Management Hearings Board determined that that de-designation is what we call it, a de-designation of agricultural land, did not comply with the Growth Management Act. And they went further than that, and they found that the county's action they determined that it was invalid. And so there's sort of two levels of error that the board can find in the adoption of a comprehensive plan. There's non-compliance, which is simply something was done in the adoption of the comprehensive plan that didn't comply with the Growth Management Act. But if that non-compliance raises to a level of substantially interfering with the policies or goals of the Growth Management Act, then the hearings board can determine that the action was invalid. And the significance of the difference is that on a determination of invalidity, the governor can impose a number of sanctions on the jurisdiction that adopted the plan. So what happened in this 2016 adoption was that urban growth area expansion. However, La Center and Ridgefield annexed the area in the urban growth area to the cities before the Growth Management Board had a hearing and before they determined the action of the expansion of the UGAs to be invalid. And ultimately, what that led to was the determination of invalidity was determined to be moot because when the Growth Management Hearings Board remanded the case back to the county and said, fix this, the county said, we can't fix it anymore. This land's no longer within our jurisdiction. It's in the city's jurisdiction. And the Court of Appeals found that, yes, indeed, the action and the determination of invalidity had been rendered moot and the annexations were effective. Since then, there's been some legislative changes to deal with that scenario, which occurred in 2016. The same scenario occurred in Clark County in 2007 with Ridgefield and Camas. And now, if an adopting city or county doesn't delay the effective date of their action until after the hearings board makes a ruling, then if you're found to be invalid, you can be subject to the sanctions that the governor can impose, which includes being ineligible for grants, reduction in sales tax, gas tax revenues, a number of financial sanctions that can be imposed. So that's my overview of what happened in 2016 with the county's comprehensive plan and the city actions and annexing areas within the UGA.
Okay, thank you, Bronson. So I mentioned that comprehensive plans have mandatory elements within them. And so what we mean when we say elements are essentially chapters. So if you open up the La Center Comprehensive Plan, you'll see a number of different chapters in there. The ones that are required under the Growth Management Act are land use, housing, capital facilities, utilities, transportation, economic development and parks and recreation. And there's some other optional elements that La Center includes in there, including urban growth, government, environment. I'm probably missing a few. So it's just good to be aware that there's some required elements. There's some optional elements that La Center can, has some more flexibility with. It's also important to note that the elements have to be coordinated and consistent with each other. So you can't really set up policies in one section that, draw up a direct conflict with the policies in another section. And it also means, generally speaking, that the assumptions that you use behind the plan, most particularly population, employment, and housing numbers, need to be consistent across those elements, because those are basic elements of the plan that translate across these different chapters and elements of the plan. And so, for instance, you can't really, if the land use element says, hey, in the next 20 years, we're going to grow 5,000 people, but then you open up the transportation element and it says we're going to grow by 10,000 people during that same period. That's a fundamental inconsistency, and it could lead to problems, because then you might be over allocating resources for roads, and your transportation system wouldn't be matched up with what you're assuming about your land uses. So things have to match up in a substantial way. That doesn't mean you have to always have to use the exact same numbers. Some of the different elements of the comprehensive plan have different planning periods. For instance, the parks plan uses a 6-year planning period. So does the transportation plan, whereas the comprehensive plan as a whole uses a 20-year planning period. So you can't always use the exact same numbers, but you can't be largely divergent in one element from another in terms of what you're assuming about growth rates and total population at the end of the planning period. So just wanted to talk with you really quickly about some of the key issues of this update. I've already mentioned a couple times population projections. And so this past December, the State of Washington Office of Financial Management came out with population projections for every county in the state for the next 20-year planning period. And those projections are at the county level. They don't come down to the city level. And so then the county takes those projections and it allocates those projections to the jurisdictions within the county, so the cities, but also the unincorporated areas of the county, and then makes assumptions about how fast areas of the county are going to grow. So that's what's going to be happening over the next several months, maybe into the summer and fall. The county is going to be working with the cities and coordinating with them to pick a projection, because there's a low, a medium, and a high projection that they could choose. So they'll be working with us to pick a projection and then allocate population to La Center, and then that obviously will drive assumptions about land use, housing, policies that go in the different elements and chapters of the comprehensive plan. There's also housing is also going to be a major topic of this update, because the state has quite a few updated requirements with regard to housing and how cities and counties have to project what their needs are across different income groups, low, middle, low, medium, and high, across different types of housing. So again, low density, medium density, high density, duplexes, triplexes, apartments, and so forth. You have to demonstrate that you are setting aside enough land to accommodate the demand for each of those housing types over the next 20 years, as well as analyzing the impacts of housing and land use decisions on different population groups. All right, switching gears here just a little bit, I wanted to talk to you about the work plan for this project. And so the work plan really is, the scope of work that we're sort of working under for this project. I'm not going to dive too deep into this. There's more details available if you're interested. I'll just talk about some of the major tasks and milestones of this project, as well as how they relate to the Planning Commission and the City Council. Staff did develop this work plan in coordination with the Planning Commission, essentially in the fall of last year. So the Planning Commission is generally aware of the work plan. The work plan has 3 phases to it. Phase 1 is what we're calling project management. Phase 2 is the comprehensive plan and code update. That's kind of the meat of the whole thing. And then phase 3 is adoption. Essentially, we're in phase 1 right now. We developed the work plan, as I said, in the fall of last year. We're going to be attending county coordination meetings throughout this year, possibly into next year. We completed an audit of the city's comprehensive plan and its code last year to try and figure out what exactly we need to update. And during basically the first 6 months of this year, possibly into the fall, we'll be working on some background information, including what's called a housing needs analysis. I kind of referenced that a little bit earlier. Other demographic information that undergirds the comprehensive plan. And that would also include, that background information also includes the audit, which is already complete. Phase 2, as I said, is the comprehensive plan and code updates task, which is kind of the center of all of this. That's when we're going to take all that background information and update the city's comprehensive plan and codes based upon state law, as well as the findings of that background information. And then phase 3 is adoption, and so that'll kind of start in late 2024 and get going in the first part of 2025, when we'll be having meetings and hearings with the Planning Commission and the City Council to talk about the different elements that we need to adopt and get those adopted. This slide is basically the same as the last one, but I just wanted to point out that there's going to be 5 different joint Planning Commission City Council work sessions that we're planning. There's obviously the one tonight, which is kind of kicking off this project. Session 2 will talk to you about the background information. That's targeted at this point for September of this year. And then a whole year away from now, we'll bring forward to you the land use and the housing element of the comprehensive plan and show you what we've proposed to update in those. Session 4 would be updating the capital facilities, transportation, and parks elements. And we're sort of calling those as a group the capital facilities elements, but there's really sort of 3 of them there. And then session 5 would be sort of updating the rest of the comprehensive plan that's outside of that. And that would include economic development, urban growth, government, environment elements. So the point here is that we wanted to be sure that we're keeping you up to date and involved in the project. These aren't going to be the only touch points with you on this project. These are kind of just the big work sessions, but I think what is also going to happen is that you'll see us coming forward, especially with some code updates and talking to you about those. So there's going to be multiple opportunities for you to participate. Because of the significance of this project and the importance of it overall to the city, we have developed a public involvement and communication plan. And that sets up opportunities for the public to participate in the project, really throughout the duration. It also talks about the key messages that we're going to be conveying to the public, and what the timeline is that the public can expect certain things to happen. Again, we want to be sure that there's ample opportunity for people to participate. Some of the key messages that we included in the public involvement and communications plan are, partly answering questions. What is a comprehensive plan? What revisions are being made? How will changes affect city residents? And then how to stay informed and up to date on the project. And these are contained in the public involvement and communications plan, which is attached to the memo that we sent you for this work session. But it's also going to be on a website that the city is going to create for the comprehensive plan update. So that'll be there, as well as some of the other materials like the work plan, code updates, draft code updates, draft comprehensive plan elements, that sort of thing, so people can get connected and find all of the information in one place. There's going to be two, in terms of the events that we're targeting, there's going to be two public open houses, one in October of this year, and that one would really kind of cover background information, population, housing and employment projections, for instance, but then talk to the public about what some of the same things we're talking to you about tonight, what a comprehensive plan is, how they can get involved. Then the second workshop would be November 2024. And we would be talking to them about, okay, here's the changes that we propose to make to the comprehensive plan. Please give us your input on these. I already mentioned the 5 workshops, joint workshops with Planning Commission and City Council. And then there would be multiple different adoption meetings and hearings in late 2024 and 2025. I also wanted to mention that the city's considering undertaking a citywide survey to gather input not only on the comprehensive plan, but potentially also on other topics that are bigger and broader even than the comprehensive plan, but it would certainly cover topics that are in the comprehensive plan. And so that would be another sort of touch point with the public on this project. So then the roles as we're seeing them would be to complete, for staff, we're responsible for completing the technical work, distributing that information in the ways that I just mentioned, seeking input from the public, the Planning Commission and the City Council, and then of course organizing the project, as we have already, but then keeping it on track. And the Planning Commission, their role is to provide input on the technical work that staff brings forward, and they've already seen some of that. And then also provide input on the plan and the comprehensive plan and the code updates. City Council, your role is to give us policy direction. So for instance, we want to know if for some reason we're going off track in one area, or if you see things differently than we do, because Planning Commission and staff, want to know that as early as possible, so that we're not spending a lot of time going down one road and need to take another one. And of course, you ultimately have the adoption authority for the comprehensive plan and the code updates. So those are going to be your comprehensive plans, comprehensive plan and codes when it's all said and done. And then lastly, the community and the stakeholders, their role is to provide input to us in helping set the city's vision and input on all the different elements of the comprehensive plan and the codes. So with that, that is the end of the presentation. Be happy to take any questions or comments that you have. Depending on how hard your questions get, I might draw Alec into the conversation, who's attending remotely, as I mentioned, but would certainly appreciate your input, in particular on the public involvement side of things. Do we have the right number of activities that we're targeting, the right types of activities, the right messages? Are there things about the work plan that you understand or don't understand, or comments that you have on that, or the schedule? Really anything that comes to mind for you on this, we'd be happy to take that input. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the plan for the plan is good. But I like the idea of the survey. That was something that had come up in the last council work session that we had as well for other issues, other things outside of the comprehensive plan. So I like the thought of including that and just getting kind of an overall feel of what the citizens want out of La Center. The only thing I didn't see in there that I do have a question about is there was the two community events that were scheduled, and I'm wondering, is there any other outreach that's being planned in addition to the surveys? I think that as many opportunities as we can to engage people, the better.
Yeah, I mean, there's a variety of things. So there's, as I mentioned, the two public open houses, the survey, the planning commission work sessions and meetings, and the city council work sessions and meetings, all of which will be publicly advertised. We'll be distributing some information. WSP will be distributing some information to the city to help them update their website, which they can they can put that information on the website, but that could also potentially go out into some social media posts if that's determined to be appropriate. Brian, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that matter, but those are kind of the central ways that we're opening up opportunities for the public. But certainly if you have other ideas, please let us know.
Yeah, my thoughts were just maybe setting up booths at different community events and the farmers market that we have every summer. Not trying to throw things out there that create more work for other people by any means, but just more opportunities for people to get involved and throw out their ideas, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some of the events that we're already involved with, like the Christmas tree lighting and the Our Days events where we already have booths and things, might be a good fit to have the information available for the public and interaction, so we can have that face-to-face dialogue with everyone at each of those opportunities.
Especially since we see not many people attend our meetings.
Great.
Yeah, we're not citing Wednesday night entertainment, that's for sure.
And I want to just indicate back, Casey, on the open houses, I think we're anticipating having that at the community center. So we'd have room for several hundred perhaps, and council being there, planning commission being there, WSP being there, and having material that be asked out, maybe a presentation of sorts. But again, an open opportunity so that people are not trying to they'll have plenty of room and have a large enough time and large enough area to park and such. So I think that's our plan, is to make it really accessible a couple of times during this process.
Yeah.
and using the community center, because that'd be an outstanding area for us to do that.
Yeah, this is Dennis Nutbrock. Let me add to that. We have a long list of stakeholders, and for these public meetings, we plan on reaching out specifically and inviting some of those key stakeholders like business owners. So it's not going to be just a general announcement, please come. We're going to have specific invitations to some of those stakeholders.
Right.
Thank you. Yeah, that sounds good. More of a question for my lack of knowledge than than throwing out a bunch of good ideas. So
Yeah, no, those are
question.
good ideas, and appreciate the input on that. And I just want to thank Commissioner Nutbrock for pointing that out, because I did forget that point, that we will be sending out some specific invites to groups to attend the open houses.
Ethan, are you able to give the council at least an idea, thinking of the comprehensive plan as a 100% package based on the requirements, again, the pure requirements coming down from the state? Do you think that represents, what percentage of the counts of that comprehensive plan do you think gets affected by the state requirements? Any thoughts on that?
I mean, just off the top of my head, maybe roughly 40-50%.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So just so council, you'll know that WSP and the staff are digging into the weeds, trying to understand, like every state, every county and city, what does the state mean? You know, what do they mean by this? What do they mean by that? So that they can break it down for us. And then as your planning commissioners, being able to wrestle with it and be able to, working with WSP, present to you recommendations. But a lot of the hard work and detail work is being done by WSP, thankfully. We don't really have staff to do that, or ability, or our knowledge, I guess, to do that.
yeah, and that's a really good point. And just a couple of things that you had said in the comprehensive plan, that there's legislation currently that could affect that if it's planned, that has to do with the high density housing areas and the duplexes versus quadplexes and things like that. When we were in Olympia last week, that was brought up in a couple of different meetings. And so one of the things that we were told by some of the state reps were, if there is council proclamations that we can make that would help support that, then bring that information to us. And I don't remember what the bill is. I can read through here real quick, but it was, it's well, maybe it's not that one. Anyway, I could research it and figure out. But the bottom line was that if that bill passes, it would restrict the control that the cities had to control the density of the housing inside their city. And so there's probably multiple bills that are like that. But I know Liz and I thought that was a good idea. And if it's something that you feel is important, please let us know, and we can get that proclamation presented and voted in, and then send that to our reps so that they can push that. You know, it's a longer session this year. So, you know, depending on how fast those bills get pushed through, it's something that we should probably act on sooner than later.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Currently, there aren't any state restrictions on density within cities, although you still have to be able to accommodate the 20-year population projection. And so that then sort of indirectly affects what densities you're planning for. But yeah, currently there isn't like a minimum density citywide that La Center has to achieve that comes down to us from the state. There's some county assumptions about La Center's population and how it will grow that establish that La Center would have about 4 units per net acre. You know, and we've been achieving that for quite a while, and a little bit above that. But yeah, you're right there. It could help to produce a proclamation suggestion and send that up the chain if that's something that the council and the planning commission feel strongly about.
Yeah, I'll get you these numbers here
Okay,
before
thank
at
you.
the end of the session.
Do you have any questions about the work plan? Does it seem, and the schedule, does that seem clear? Are there enough touch points with planning commission and city council? Planning commission's pretty much every month. They're going to be hearing about it probably more than they want to, but with the city council, we're going to have those 5 joint work sessions, and then sometimes periodically we'll be coming to you for updates just to kind of tell you what we're up to. Do you see the need for more, fewer of those?
I mean, I think that would probably depend on planning commission and how you feel the information flowing back and forth between us throughout this process, in addition to what information you're getting not only from the state level, but also from the county. If it goes anything like the first time I sat through this lengthy marathon process, there's a lot, tends to be, I'm sure it's smoothed out now, but there were a lot of hiccups along the way where dialogue needed to occur between both council and planning commission to get a surety that we were all heading in the right direction. So
I want to second that because Liz was on the council. I was on planning commission when we did the 2016. And again, lesson learned there. The council plays an important part. They're the final gavel, the yay nay on this whole process. And if we can be sure that we're heading down a road that seems reasonable and likely that will pass, that's the road we want to be on, and not be somehow heading down a road that we think as a planning commission that turns out to be a dead end. And then we've wasted a month or two. We want to try to avoid that. So I think the intent here, and correct me if I'm wrong there, Ethan, that as we go through here, we're looking for, and this is the council, planning commission as well, they're going to be presenting to us, here's changes to the comprehensive plan based on the state requirements, but here's the areas that the city can either say yay or nay or tweak. And we want to try to provide those to you as we move through this process, because the council may want to tweak something. Some things you can't tweak. The state's going to say you're going to do this. We have to incorporate that. But there's other areas that we can have massage a little bit. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, there's a large spectrum of the comprehensive plan that you could potentially update and make optional updates to. Our primary focus here on this is making sure that La Center meets the requirements that it has under state law. You need to do that as a minimum, but there may be other areas that over the course of the project, it becomes apparent that that we need to update as well, because it fits with what La Center wants and needs and all of that sort of thing, as opposed to what the state wants.
yeah, I think our high priority continues to be jobs, business, and then looking at our overall residential. I think we've skirted the the higher density issue for quite some time, and that's what we really have to roll our sleeves up and look at. Even though many areas would rather ignore that aspect, as we grow, it's something that we just have to accept and figure out where do we zone it and how do we handle it as far as traffic impacts and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys are far wiser than I on all of those topics.
We're going to you for the wisdom.
I remember my eyes started glazing over the first time we went through the growth management, and everyone was arguing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was not pretty.
occasionally produce some strong feelings
Yeah.
in
Just like,
people.
This is Dennis Nutbrock. Let me make a comment here. Yeah, I know Jeff Swanson has been leading the council through an exercise to define vision, values, and strategies. And that's going to dovetail directly into the comprehensive plan. If you look at the plan on page 1 is the city's vision. And so, we need some help in getting Jeff to finish that exercise, so at least we have that vision. The other thing you need to understand is each of those 10 chapters in the comprehensive plan starts with a goal statement for that particular element, and then a list of policy statements. And if my count is correct, there are 158 policy statements in those 10 chapters. And I was involved, like Dennis was in 2016 on the current plan, and I was surprised at how little attention those policy statements got at the time. And so the policy statements that are there now were basically what was in the plan, the previous plan. And so I think it's appropriate that some effort be put into understanding what those policy statements are and making sure they align with what the council comes up with a vision and where we think the city wants to go over the next 20 years. So I think that's one area that we will certainly be looking for some involvement from the council on.
Yeah, I was going to just chime in for a sec. I think one thing that I'm very happy with the current work that planning is doing on this is that I think I oversimplify everything, but I think, you can look at the task ahead of us in like 3 different buckets. There's one is like compliance, like the state has changed something and our code is behind. And so there's like that. And then there's the growth aspect. But there's like this third aspect that I think we've given good attention to, in that just complying is like the minimum understanding, but that third facet is really the vision and really capturing what the town wants, and something that, 10 years from now, someone could say, I'm really glad we put that in there because we didn't hit all of it, but we hit a couple of points and it made a big difference to what we're doing. And I think that's like something we've really led with. So hopefully we can, put our money where our mouth is.
Okay. There we go. Okay. Appreciate the input on this. Not trying to wrap it up premature or anything, but really am appreciative of everything that's been said here tonight. We're taking some good notes on this in terms of what your questions and comments were, and so we're going to keep these in mind as we kind of move through the project. So please let it. Oh,
I was just going to say, I just had a thought. What about, as you go through, do you look at like the local businesses that are going to be impacted by this and inviting them to be a part of this process and how that's going to change things for them potentially and pre-pave situations?
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to be making a specific outreach for the businesses to come and comment at the open houses.
Well, but also sending them letters, not just putting it on the reader board, expecting them to show up, or putting it on the website,
Sure,
expecting them to know, like actually educating them and sending them information in the mail.
Yeah, the plan is to send them mail notices for them to come to the open houses and comment on it. And of course, we want to hear from them, instead of making assumptions about how they will be impacted. We want to hear directly from them.
Yeah, we also, one of the things we talked about too was we've been getting our arms around this comprehensive plan, but one of the things that we discussed as we do our own work sessions is that there was possibly a specific team or work session team that was going to focus on outreach, so that and we actually threw out ideas as far as even door to door, knocking on doors, and that would include businesses and things like that. So in a perfect world, if we can really execute it, it wouldn't even be written stuff and the website in this, but it would literally be handshaking and knocking and saying, hey, I'm, planning on planning commission and we're having this event, and would you share some thoughts with us now, type of thing.
I think we really, what Sharon's saying there is that we're going to try to put every effort we can into drawing them into the process. I'm not sure how else to say that, but so that they sincerely know that we want their input. And that, if it's a reader board only, that's not very sincere. But I think a letter, other correspondence that really lays out for them why we want them there, why that's important and why they're a stakeholder. And I think not only the businesses, but obviously the citizens, daycare centers, anyone that has a business opportunity here in the city, I think should be in there. So I think we're going to try to, we don't have that figured out yet, but I think that's an area that we're going to work hard at making happen.
Maybe that could be a task, Mark, to check off is developing a communications plan. And we can certainly be a part of that, because by no means is this a new process, but it may be very new to some of the people that will have input and don't know it just yet. So, things like inviting people to come and speak during the public comment period to get their opinions out there and their thoughts, and then they can be directed to contact the planning commission through that process. And that way it looks like that's a lot more than just, the two outreach meetings during the planning process. So I think this is a really good start. So I think we're on our way.
Thank you. And I think we can update the PICP, the Public Involvement and Communications Plan, to reflect some of these thoughts. And I'll do some more talking with Brian about it, ways that we can address your comments and encourage more specific participation in the process, and what those specific methods would be, whether it's the mailer or the website or as Dennis said, door knocking potentially, but to make a sincere effort to bring people to meetings and other events that that will be present at, for them to provide input.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the input again. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, great presentation, Ethan, and I want to thank you and Alec for putting this all together. So I think we had a good meeting. It was productive, got it up to a good start. So with that being said, it's right now 6:21. I'm going to go ahead and also want to thank, of course, the city staff for all their hard work and efforts that they're putting into this as well. I mean, the whole process is a very heavy lift, so it's going to take a lot of involvement by everyone, but that's been clearly communicated tonight. So now it is 6:21. I will go ahead and close the work session, and then we will basically just stay online here till 6:30, and then we'll go ahead and start the city council meeting. So again, thank you everyone, and appreciate everybody's effort. And I want to also put a special thank you out to the planning commission for all their hard work. I want everybody to know that we have a very, very dedicated planning commission, and they're detail oriented, and they do a great job for our community. And I recognize that. I know the city council members recognize that. And I'd also like for the community at large to recognize that as well. So Planning Commission, thank you very much for all your continued hard work and efforts. You really do cover a lot of different areas and spend a lot of time at this stuff. So it's, believe me, it's greatly appreciated. Okay, so I will see everybody again here at 6:30. We'll start the city council meeting and we'll continue going forward. Thank you.
That was a good idea going out.
Okay, everyone, it's now 6:30. We'll go ahead and get started. Start right on time. I'd like to get everybody turned around and headed home tonight because of the weather, and hopefully the roads are going to be okay. Um, so-
And I go, it's not your job to keep them on. Yeah. Like, come on, dude. He's like, oh yeah, try it.
so,
Like, what's that?
Kate, could you please start the recording?
The recording started.
Okay. Today is Wednesday, February 22nd, 2023. I'd like to call tonight's City Council meeting to order. Could we all please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, could I get the roll call?
Councilmember Fox,
Present.
Councilmember Kasberg,
Here.
Councilmember Boyle,
Absent and excused?
Councilmember Strobehn,
Absent and excused.
Councilmember Cerveny,
Present.
Mayor Thornton.
Present. Thank you. Next on the agenda are citizens' public comment. Clerk, please call up any of the people in the audience to comment to the city council. If there are any comments, if the people that are commenting, please limit your comments to 3 minutes, and please give us your name and address prior to starting your comments. So, Clerk, do we have anybody in the audience that wants to address the council this evening?
We do. Al?
Al Pillow, 152 West 15th Street. Hey, we had President's Day, and hopefully you noticed the flags on the bridge.
Thank you.
American Legion put them up. I hope you all, to celebrate President's Day, went down and bought a mattress. Also, we're always looking for members, so we meet second Thursday of the month over here at the church. Also, we're planning on doing a ceremony out at the cemetery Memorial Day. We're still working on that. I've got 100% of it together. And if anybody has a flag that needs disposed of, look me up, or you can drop it off to Alex here, and he'll be glad to take it and give me a call and tell him to come pick it up. Thank you all. Nice to hear you, Mayor. God bless America.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, Al.
Kimberly Elbin?
Good evening. I'm Kimberly Elbin. I'm a citizen of Clark County and resident here in La Center for a little over 30 years. I want to let the public know that I have submitted papers. I did it today. It was after 4 o'clock. These will probably be on the next minutes. They're interesting to read. I am going to submit tonight to put on record Awoken Patriots. It's a new group that's going nationwide. We want to make sure that we cover everybody that wants to learn and grow and educate themselves. Here's the 2025 comprehensive, excuse me, I'm tired, but I'm still going to do my duty, and at least I can stand there. Comprehensive plan periodic update. This follows, I don't care how pretty you put it and blame it on Washington State, Inslee, the criminal. It's following the plan to take over America, weaken us. And if people here cannot see that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent to follow this initiative, they don't want to learn anything. So I'm going to try to wake up Clark County, doing my very best. On the meeting minutes, and my papers must be somewhere else, but the regular city council meeting, let me see, where was I? There's some wording wrong about something, and I don't even know where my notes went. That's how crazy it's been for me. It did mention, anyway, I'll go to the next thing, the jail. So you're going to associate yourself with Clark County. Clark County is run by an unelected official. Her name is Kathleen Otto. She is running the Clark County Jail. I'm not. You're not. We'll have no say. When it comes down to when they want to take those of us that are going to stand, and I hate it, it's not a fear tactic, but we can certainly go back in history and learn what's really going on if you'd at least educate yourselves, wake up the next day with a clear heart, and analyze the situation. For God's sake, I did. If I can do it, anybody can. The Columbian Legals. The Columbian is a propaganda newspaper. I used to hand deliver down in Vancouver where I was born. And doggone, here we are. So they can't be trusted, but here we go. You're going to put your ads in and stuff. I'd like to add into it also for that cost, right?
Hey, Kimberly, you're nearly out of time. If you could please wrap it up.
Like me, they're not listening. Believe me, we're trying. So I'm going to wake you up to that. They're a propaganda paper. Also, the Red Cross, don't trust any blood given there. I wouldn't. And they're also a United Nations member.
It's time.
Your time has expired, Kimberly. We'll wait to hear from you at the next city council meeting. Thank you.
Oh, well, for 3 minutes, hey, you guys, that's great.
Yeah, your 3 minutes have expired. It goes quick.
I appreciate 3 minutes.
There are no more members from the audience for comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. If there is anyone that's calling in this evening to make a public comment on your telephone, now is the opportunity for you to present your comments to the council. Again, if you would please limit your comments to 3 minutes and give us your name and address prior to starting your comments. And please remember to press *6 on your phone before you start talking so you come through to the city council. Clerk, do we have anybody calling in?
We have a couple, so we could just wait.
Okay. Again, remember to push *6 on your phone. So, Clerk, did you say we do have people calling in or we do not?
There are people in attendance, but nobody has unmuted themselves.
Okay. All right, not hearing any, we'll move on. Clerk, are there any comments that need to be read to the city council this evening?
There was one emailed, but that person has spoken for their allotted 3 minutes. It will be distributed if someone would like it, and it will be on the minutes for this meeting.
Very good. Thank you. So that will end citizen public comment for this evening. We'll move on. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. If there are no requests for any items to be removed, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Council. Next on the agenda are presentations and proclamations. I do have a proclamation that I'm going to read this evening. It's a proclamation declaring Red Cross Month for the March of 2023. In times of crisis, people in the center come together to care for one another. Humanitarian spirit is part of the foundation of our community and is exemplified by the Red Cross, Cascades, regional volunteers, and donors. In 1881, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, turning her steadfast dedication for helping others in a bold mission of preventing and alleviating people's suffering. Today, more than 140 years later, we honor the kindness and generosity of Red Cross volunteers here in the center who continue to carry out Clara's life-saving legacy. They join the millions of people across the United States who volunteer, give blood, donate financially, or learn vital life-preserving skills through the Red Cross. In the Cascade region, serving Southwest Washington and Oregon, the contributions of more than 2,500 local Red Cross volunteers give hope to the most vulnerable in their darkest hours. The Red Cross does so by providing more than 600 emergency overnight shelters along with food and comfort for families devastated by nearly 800 local disasters like home fires. Through the generosity of those donating more than 182,000 units of essential blood for accident burn victims, heart surgery, and organ transplant patients, and those receiving treatment for leukemia, cancer, and sickle cell disease, or by supporting services and veterans on an average of 9 times a day, along with their families, caregivers, through a unique challenge in military life, and by helping to save the lives with other first aid, such as CPR and other skills of delivering international humanitarian aid. The work to prevent and alleviate human suffering is vital to strengthening our community's resilience. We dedicate this month of March to all those who continue to advance the noble legacy of American Red Cross founder Clara Barton, who lived by her words. You must never think of anything except the need and how it's to be met. We ask others to join in the commitment to give back to our community. Now, therefore, I, Greg Thornton, Mayor of the Center, do hereby proclaim March 2023 as Red Cross Month and encourage all citizens to join the observance. Maria, I understand there is a representative here this evening virtually from Red Cross to accept this proclamation.
Yes, Mary Jane is on.
Mary Jane, do you have anything to add?
Yes. I say I'm the chair for the board of directors for the Southwest Washington chapter of the Red Cross, and I'd like to thank you for this proclamation. The Red Cross could not do the work it does without the support of our community, the donors and volunteers, and we really feel this support, and we especially felt the support last fall when we saw our communities rally together during the Nakia Creek fire. We felt it not only in that Camas area, but throughout our little corner of Southwest Washington, La Center, Battleground, the Salmon Creek area. We felt that in the entirety of this little corner of Southwest Washington. So thank you for that. And on a personal note, thank you for all that life-saving blood. It does make a difference. It was important, especially to me, because it gave me an additional year with a very dear friend of mine. So again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate this, and we look forward to continuing to serve our community. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Mary Jane. And again, thank you for all your hard work and dedication to the Red Cross. Appreciate it. Okay. Uh, Next on the agenda is the mayor's report. I really don't have anything to share with the council this evening. I know Maria has some items in her staff report that will let the council know about some dates and times for grand opening and other things. So I will let her go through that. And I just want to also say that there will be no mayor's town hall in March. So that's all I really had for the council this evening. Do you have any questions for me? Okay, so next on the agenda is the attorney's report, and Mr. Bronson Potter will be giving the city attorney will be giving the attorney's report. Bronson?
Good evening, Mayor, council members, members of the public. There's no legal matters to report on tonight, so thank you.
Thank you, Bronson. Any questions for Bronson this evening from the council?
How steep is your driveway?
It's not only how steep it is, but at the bottom, there's a ravine. When the snow starts flying, I'm pretty much stuck in the house.
I was only teasing.
Okay. All right, thanks again, Bronson. Next on the agenda are council comments. Councilmember Fox.
Hi, good evening. Quiet night tonight, but thanks for all those who showed up. I don't have a whole lot to share other than excited for the new Podunk Pizza opening up soon. So let's all get out and support that. We got the new Phoenix ribbon cutting coming up. So that'll be really exciting. And yeah, just support local. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Kasberg.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening, welcome. I think that tonight's work session, I think, was really good. Mr. Nutbrock brought up a really good point that we had started working on a couple weeks ago. Well, a couple longer than that, but 2 weeks ago was when we started putting more effort into it. But talking about the updated vision and the updated mission statement. And, you know, those things tend to get very wordy, and ours is over there on the wall, and it's outdated. It was great at the time. But I was doing a little bit of reading on different mission statements, and unfortunately, the city of Woodburn has one that's pretty good. I think we can probably plagiarize it a little bit, but not completely steal their whole thing. But
I think we're more creative.
I would agree. We are. But I really like what they said. It's the mission of the Woodburn City Council is to make Woodburn a great place to live, work, and visit. And that's it. And so I think that is kind of the direction that we need to go. But rather than make it the mission of the Woodburn or the La Center City Council to make La Center a great place to live, work, and visit, I think it's the Planning Commission's job, it's the city staff's job, and it's the residents' job to do that. So in reality, I think that the council's job is to support what these other groups think and do and bring forward to us so that we can make it a better place to live, work, and visit. You know, really our job is not to ruin it, and let's not make it worse. So anything that we can do to make this a better place is what we should do. And, knowing that it's not completely up to us to do it. And I really appreciate the Planning Commission's open discussion about the outreach portion of that to get more people involved, to get more opinions, and so that we can do what we need to do to make this a better place to live, work, and visit. Thank you.
Okay, Casey, thank you. Good comments. Councilmember Cerveny.
Thank you, Mayor. As Al said, it's great to hear you and have you participate with us and lead us once again.
Yes.
I would also like to thank Al and the American Legion for their dedication in putting up the wonderful American flags for us for President's Weekend. It always makes me smile coming across the bridge. I know it touches each and every one of us in different ways. I'd also like to take a minute to thank Jeff Swanson and Lloyd Halverson and staff and everyone involved in putting together our Casey, Councilman Kasberg and myself, our ability to go up to Olympia and visit with all of the new and old legislators, share our La Center story and, get the word out there, what our needs are, and listen to them and understand what their situations are, their obstacles, and how we can help. I think it was very informative 2 days, and the meetings that Association for Washington Cities offered was very educational and very helpful in terms of not only networking and meeting new people, but also just putting new spins and new perspectives on how we think about things ourselves. And I'd also like to extend my thanks to Casey for going up. I know it's always a juggle with our work schedules and such, but making the effort was, I think, very helpful to show our legislators the city's presence and our sense of importance on different issues. And I think they listened to us and really heard what our needs were. So I thank you for doing that juggle and participating, and for the opportunities we had to share ideas and thoughts as well. And that's all.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Liz. So next on the agenda are staff reports. The first staff report we will have this evening is the police staff report, and Chief Richardson will be presenting. So I'll turn it over to you, Chief.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. I apologize for not being there, but I, like Bronson, I'm snowed in with about 1.5 feet of snow. So, and I can't ski, so that's why I'm here. I'm going to do a summary of the council report just to kind of move us along tonight. But this is the council report for January of 2023. And we had 7 offenses that were reported in January of 2023 compared to 13 offenses that were reported in January of 2022. 2 of the 7 offenses that were reported in January were domestic violence related. 1 was an assault and 1 was a violation of a protective order. We had 2 arrests reported in 2023 in January versus 4 arrests reported in January of 2022. The 2 arrests comprised of 1 was a DV assault and the other was 1 for driving while suspended. Total calls for service in January of 2023 were up slightly from January of 2022. This is included an increase of 146 up to 152. And we also had an increase of officer-initiated activity where that went from 60 to 71 calls. So January was a busy for calls, but not necessarily busy for crimes reported. I wanted to bring you up to date on Burke Consulting. They're still in the process of conducting their study regarding a contract between the city of Ridgefield and the city of La Center. They have conducted interviews both in the city of Ridgefield and in the city of La Center, and also requested workload and budget information, which I provided. I did a follow-up email with them last week. They asked them if they needed anything else, and at that time they said they did not, but they were going to have some internal meetings about what direction they were going to go next. And so when I get more information, I will make sure to update the city council and the city staff regarding anything regarding that consulting study. I continue to monitor the current legislative session to anticipate any policy or procedure changes as a result of any new laws. I encourage you to get on there if you have the opportunity and listen to some of the bills regarding policing and some of the discussion. There's a wide variety of opinions from society and what they want the police to do and how it could impact our ability to make car stops, or I know they're working on the pursuit bill. So there's things that are interesting for the public just to know what's going on. Obviously, once the legislative session is over and the new laws are enacted, I'll make sure to follow up with a summary of how that will impact any police department arrest or response or policies and procedures. And we still have steering wheel locks to give out. If you want to go buy a mattress and then come by the city hall and get a steering wheel lock, we still have plenty to hand out. I noticed some of the other cities in Washington state have gotten some grants from Hyundai and Kia to hand out steering wheel locks for those particular types of vehicles, but we will hand out 2 to anybody that needs them until we run out. With that, is there anybody has any questions regarding the police department or the monthly report? Then I will, that will conclude my report.
Okay, Chief, thank you very much. The next staff report that we have this evening will be the Administrative Services Staff Report, and Maria will be presenting that to the council this evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our January sales tax disbursement was just shy of $58,000 compared to $63,000 a year ago. The gambling tax came in at $108,000 for the first month of the year. And staff continues to stay busy with meetings and trainings. We hosted Representative Marie Glusenkamp-Perez and her team to discuss the Breezy Creek Culvert project along with other legislative initiatives. And Councilmembers Kasberg and Cerveny joined us for that meeting, so thanks for attending that. The Public Works and Administrative Services staff attended naloxone training hosted by Clark County Public Health. I attended occupational fraud training, and Desi attended grant writing and strategies and opportunities. Both of those were sponsored by MRSC, and 3 staff members attended basics of managing records, which was sponsored by the Secretary of State office. As a Councilmember Fox mentioned, we do have a couple of ribbon cutting ceremonies coming up. We will be at Podunk Pizza on Saturday the 18th at 5 p.m. So come out and support that. They're at 630 East Birch Avenue. And then also not in my report, but as she mentioned, next Wednesday, March 1st, there will be a ribbon cutting at the New Phoenix at 11:30 a.m. So all are welcome to come out and join us for those. And then finally, in honor of Red Cross Month, the city is hosting a blood drive on March 28th from noon to 6 p.m. at our old city hall, our former city hall. Anyone interested in donating can contact Desi or sign up online. And I think that we also have some flyers either on the entry table or at the reception area if you want to pick one up. Are there any questions?
I signed up.
Glad to see gambling tax out.
Okay, thank you, Maria. Next on the agenda is ordinance resolutions and public hearings. This evening we do have one public hearing, and it's amending the skateboarding code. It's ordinance 2023-3, and Chief Richardson will be presenting that to the council this evening. So back to you, Chief.
Thank you again, Mayor and City Council. I just wanted to update you on this. Remember, we brought this forward in the last City Council meeting as a first look, and then we took your council comments and we made some revisions to the ordinance. In slide number 2 of the PowerPoint, why are the modifications necessary? Just recall that we've always had a skateboard ordinance that prohibits skateboarding in certain areas, but it has not been updated till since 1996. There were no specific definitions of each type of activity to encompass new types of equipment or terms utilized in the ordinance. There were no safety-related sections. There were no penalties for operating these devices in a negligent manner. There were no restrictions on public paths or trails, and there were no restrictions on the use of these items in city parking lots. And so we can move on to slide number 3, please. So I wanted to cover the changes very briefly. What we do is section 10.07.1.010 updates and defines the activities prohibited as well as other terms utilized in the ordinance. This section also modifies the definition of downtown business district as directed by the City Council to mean the roadway and sidewalks from Northwest Pacific Highway roundabout along Forest Street to Cedar Avenue. So that's the only place in the city that you can't ride skateboards or or electric skateboards or rollerblades or rollerblading or roller skates other than there and on city parking lots that are owned by the city or leased by the city. So anywhere else in the city, you can do those activities, including the schools. And also for safety, the ordinance requires that you wear some type of reflective devices during hours after darkness, something on the front and the back, so you're visible. And if you could go to the next slide, please. I'm just looking at this. Okay. Other thing it does is it prohibits you from putting obstacles on public right-of-way, such as roadway or sidewalks, skateboard ramps, those kinds of things. So they're not blocking pedestrians and forcing them into the street to walk around them, or a car runs into something at night because somebody left their skateboard ramp in the middle of the street. This ordinance also restricts the use of motor vehicles on city pathways or trails within the city of the center. It also adds a section for parental responsibility where parents knowingly permit a minor under the age of 18 to violate this ordinance. It adds a liability section stating that there's no public duty created by enacting this ordinance. And it also adds a civil penalty, civil infraction of no more than $250 upon the court finding a violation. And we removed anything regarding seizure or forfeiture of the equipment that they were using. And what has not changed, the next slide, please. Activities defined in this ordinance are lawful in the city of the center except for the downtown business district and city-owned, leased, or operated parking lots. And again, I want to reiterate the fact that the City of the Center Police Department will still operate under the spirit of the law and encourage education and cooperation. This is primarily an enforcement tool to gain compliance if all other avenues have been exhausted. And I'm ready for any questions.
So council, any questions for the chief or any discussion amongst yourselves before I go ahead and open up the public hearing? You're not hearing any. It is right now 7:03, and I will open the public hearing for ordinance 2023-03. If there's anyone that would like to comment on, in the audience that would like to comment on this evening, if you could please step up to the podium, give us your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Al Villa, 152 West 15th Street. Here in section C, so it's okay to operate a scooter in a negligent manner because it's not stated in there. So it's okay to operate it in a negligent. I couldn't figure it out. Thank you. God bless America.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to make a public comment this evening on the ordinance? Okay, not seeing anyone step up to the podium. Next, I will ask if there are any public comments from people that are calling in this evening. So if you're calling in on your telephone, now is the time, now is the opportunity for you to make a public comment. If you would please remember to push *6 on your phone before you start talking.
Hello.
Yes, okay. Would you please give us your name and
Thank you.
your address?
This is
Limit your-
Kimberly Elbert. Hello, life citizen of Clark County. It seems a little echoey. Do you want me to wait a second?
No, go ahead, Kimberly. Your 3 minutes have started.
All right. Well, I remembered, I think that Congresswoman Perez was in town. Was that correct? I'd like to know, and why we didn't hear about it. At least I didn't. I would have liked to have been there, that's for sure.
Kimberly, this is for the ordinance.
Yes, I am. So I sincerely am thankful that the citizens can speak after hearing any ordinances such as this one and or policies, etc. In other words, the agenda should allow the God, I'm here in my car here. Well, when we hear you guys, and we need to hear the representatives stating your agendas and policies, and then we should be able to speak. Second, after also public comment before we hear what the presenters have to say, such as this one, makes it a little bit difficult to comment. So we therefore are kind of restricted, in my opinion. I'd like to see that change somehow. So I do appreciate being able to speak after the presentation. I certainly want to protect people's rights. This looks okay, but I definitely want to protect people's rights against big government. And so we, the people, will watch and keep our rights here in La Center and make sure that the rights of the people are taken care of. I do have a few concerns, however, that my tax dollars pay for the very building you're in, the parking lot, the city, whatever around the library, I'm assuming, I don't know. And then, of course, maybe the museum and this and that. And if we can't have kids walking around, playing around on their skateboards or scooters, I'm not going to be happy about that one. So I do object to that. We need to work something out that they can be safe. We can protect ourselves. You guys, you're just the same as us. Why the difference? So, I mean, what are we going to just go around and start suing everybody? Well, I hope not in a socialist state, though, are we? So let's just keep track of that, make it legal for them somehow, even on our properties that our taxpayer dollars happen to own, actually, unless we're in a socialist state, of which I'm going to keep close track of, right? So we don't want to go that way, because in a socialist state, everything that we own will be the government, not the people. So we want to keep our people's rights. God bless everybody. God bless America, and God bless our most precious possessions, and that is our children. Amen.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to make a public comment regarding the ordinance 2020 2023-03 this evening that are calling in. Okay, not hearing anyone. Chris, are there any public hearing comments to be read?
There are none.
Thank you. So it is now 7:10. I would like to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it back over to council for any comments, questions, or discussion.
Chief, I guess getting back to Al's question, are scooters included in any of the definitions?
And I'm looking and
So I was thinking that it would fall under the non-motorized, any non-motorized recreational vehicle in letter C. I felt like scooters would fall under that.
I would agree. The definition of scooter says that it's propelled, most often propelled by the user. So that's where that would fall.
thank you.
I would also add that the negligent operation of scooters is covered by state law, and somebody who does that could be cited under the state statute.
Just want to keep everybody safe. Motion.
Hey, good comments. Any other discussion by the council?
No.
No, it seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, could I get a motion to approve ordinance 2023-03 as presented?
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2023-03 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2023-03 as presented. This is an ordinance, so could I please get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Fox,
Yes.
Councilmember Kasberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Boyle,
Absent, excused.
Councilmember Strobehn,
Absent and excused.
Councilmember Cerveny,
Yes.
Okay. The motion passes unanimously. So I appreciate your work, Chief. Thank you, Council, and the ordinance has been adopted. Next on the agenda is new business. Council, is there any new business that you would like to bring forward?
None from here.
Okay, with that being said, next thing on the agenda is adjournment. Could I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. That concludes this evening's city council meeting. I hope everybody has a safe drive home this evening in this weather. Please watch the roads and take your time. And again, thank you for coming out this evening. It's kind of a nasty evening, so appreciate everybody's attendance.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. Stay warm.